I'm waiting for this. Okay, it says we're live now. All right, guys. Welcome, everyone. This is the On Just Restart podcast. I hope everything is working right here. It might not. It really might not be. So if there's anything going wrong with the stream, guys, let me know in the chat, of course. But for those who are new here, as we do a weekly Sunday night 9 p.m. Eastern time podcast about Nintendo. So, but this week's a little bit different because it's Father's Day, so I actually went away to see my father. I brought some of my computer stuff so I can maybe still do video stuff throughout the week. But yeah, I went away, so I had to come up with a new setup. I don't have multiple monitors, so I had to figure this all out just now. So hopefully everything looks fine. It may seem a little off, the audio may be a little off, but hopefully everything's still presentable. Guys in the chat, let me know if it is. But yeah, so, this time what we're talking about, we're going to be talking about the ARMS Smash Ultimate presentation that will be tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm on the Eastern Coast, so I got a little bit of time to sleep. And then we also got a whole bunch of Pokemon news. So we got the Pokemon Presents, and I got a couple little stuff, but really what we're going to be focusing on is new Pokemon Snap. We're also going to be going into our impressions of the Isle of Armor DLC. Brandon, did you play it? You didn't. You don't have to. Don't feel bad. I did. So we'll talk about my impressions, and I'll also with you guys in the chat as well. And then we're also going to be getting into speculation on what the other Pokemon Presents is going to be presenting to us. There's another big project that Game Freak and, well, I'm assuming Game Freak, but it may not be Game Freak, but Pokemon Company has to show to us this week. I think it's interesting how there's a whole separate other presentation. Why couldn't they just have it then? We'll find out later this week as well. So this week we're getting ARMS news, Smash news of an ARMS character, and then Pokemon news, and who knows what else we may get, but that's going to be a lot. So we're talking about all of that today. And of course, whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat, we'll be going into that as well. We're going to try to keep the runtime a little bit shorter this time around because, well, family, Father's Day. But still, we're going to try and cover all of this within about an hour. And we'll try and get to you guys in the chat. And if you have any interesting questions, just let me know. And again, just let me know if everything is working well here. And for those who are not aware, that is Brandon. What about Nintendo? He's
hey
here
guys.
as well. Are you a dad yet, Brandon?
Yes, I have 3 beautiful children.
Okay. Well, then happy Father's Day to you. Congratulations. I didn't even know you had children, so that you must have had a very eventful week.
Oh yeah. That's what happens,
Cool. I am not really a father. Although some of you who follow me may be aware, there's a few pets I sort of share images of. These pets were technically not mine. They are my brother's, but I lived with my brother for a few years and I helped to raise them, so I love them just the same. But one of the cats I'm actually gonna take up ownership of when I move into my new apartment in a month or so. So I'm pretty excited about that. I love the little guy, so I'm gonna be keeping him with me from now on. But moving past that, I think we'll check in with the chat, and then we will jump into the discussion about Smash Brothers and Pokemon and anything else that may be happening. So let's check in with the chat here. Let's see what's going on. The Goat55, hello there. DE Fox, I saw you guys were in here early. I don't know how you met someone new in your life through the Isle of Armor, but congratulations.
That's crazy.
Yeah. NES Duck. No phone, no smoking. Well, I have my phone here, but I'm not going to use it much. Not until after the podcast, at least. Let's see here. Captain Rex, hello there. Well, I am doing fine, Captain Rex. Thank you for asking. Yeah, tomorrow morning is going to be a really good time. So I'll just say that, by the way, there may be more echo, so I'm sorry about that. But again, this is
it's not too bad.
It's just just had to hurry up and set this all up. But the ARMS presentation will be about 35 minutes, and just want to put it out there, do not expect another character reveal for anyone who's hoping. No, it's ARMS. They said it. They said it, and
they specifically said there's not gonna be another character, just the ARMS character.
Just the ARMS character. Right.
Don't be expecting anything, guys.
No, exactly. So Yeah, but still, the arm. I'm really interested to see how the arms character is gonna pan out. There's obviously a lot there. We could still get Mii costumes and stuff, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I kind of want to catch up with the chat here before we really jump into things. Hello there, Brandon the Pony. How you doing? I haven't even gotten to Rapid Strike Urshifu D Fox. I'm not that far into the DLC yet. I should be, but I haven't been. Let's see here. Hello there, Polodonna Palace. Mango Man, hello there. Michael, hello. Lazy James, yo, what's up? Too deadly. I'm calling it. I'm thinking it's Min Min.
Okay.
If it's only gonna be one character, I'm also gonna side with Min Min. If it's only one character.
Min would be nice if it's just one character.
Yeah, I agree.
I know a lot of people want Twin Tail, but I always preferred Min Min.
Yeah, I will. I guess
I would take Twin Tail though. That would be pretty.
I would
awesome
take Twin Tail too. I guess my thing about this is that Twin Tail, her arms are on her hair. So
Right.
I feel like if you're gonna have a character that's gonna represent arms as a whole, if their arms are not their arms, I feel like it kind of makes more sense to pick one of the other characters for that reason. Even though Twin Tail is super cool, it's just kind of like if you can only have one character, I think it should be a character that's more representative of most of the roster.
Which is why it's exactly gonna be only Spring Boy and Ribbon Girl.
Maybe
or 4 costumes of each.
I don't know. Maybe. We're gonna get into that in a bit. 764 is talking about Crash Bandicoot 4 getting revealed tomorrow. If it's coming to Switch, that will be Switch news. I don't know if it will come to Switch, at least immediately, but that is really cool. Especially because we had the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, and now they're coming out with this. Yeah, maybe that means something more for some of those other trilogy games. Jugs McGee, thank you. Jugs McGee is saying everything is good on his end, so I'm assuming that the stream is looking and sounding fine, or at least enough. Alright, let's see here. The Goat55 added me. Do you think Sakurai will give us a house tour possibly showing all his memorabilia? That would be really cool to see, actually.
That would be nice.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe his house is a mess.
He seems like the kind of guy who might do that.
Right, because we got
or at least just show you a few things, even if it's not like a full house tour.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if we saw something. I don't know if it'll be a whole tour, but that would be nice to see. Especially if maybe he doesn't have a lot to show. It kind of depends. Like if he has a lot to show, maybe he would. But I don't know. Definitely an interesting idea, though. Brian the Brony Pony. I actually think Character 7 will be a less hype character since it won't be an E3 situation, and that gives me more hype for Phoenix Wright. It's not a hype character for most, but it would be hype for me personally. Hey, Phoenix Wright, I can't say it is out of the question. I think there's potential there, and it would be fun.
Could definitely happen.
Yeah. Riza Hydra, hello there. Yes, Lazy James, it is shaping up to be a good week for information. So I'm pretty excited about this. So where should we start? Because there's a lot of Pokemon news, and then obviously the Smash stuff is going to be its own category as well. I think maybe we should start Pokemon, get into Smash, and Pokemon. And whatever you guys ask in the chat, that can take us in a whole bunch of other directions. It doesn't just have to be a Pokemon or Smash, but that is the news of the week. So we will be focusing on that. I guess first I'll cover my my thoughts on the Isle of Armor, and if you guys have any thoughts on that as well, for sure share them. But my thinking is that the Isle of Armor is not bad. What I like about it is kind of what I was hoping for. It does seem like Game Freak is moving ahead with the wild area concept, and what's really exciting about that is that the wild area concept is good. It's open world Pokemon, and there's a lot more to do in this new open area in the Isle of Armor as opposed to the original wild area in Sword and Shield. It does look like, at least from my perspective, it seems to be running better. And even if it isn't running a lot better, the environment has more there. There's flowers and there's more variety with the environments. Even like the tree textures look better. Like it seems like they've definitely taken it up to another level with the Isle of Armor in terms of graphics. It's not. I'm not saying it looks amazing. Like it doesn't. It looks fine for what it is. Like I've never thought Pokemon Sword and Shield looked bad, but definitely wasn't like a system.
No, it doesn't look bad.
Right, but yeah. That's really the point.
It definitely doesn't look like.
It's no Breath of the Wild. It's no Witcher 3 on Switch. It's nothing along those lines. It doesn't
quite feel like a AAA project, you know?
Right. I understand that point. It is definitely... I mean, that's how Game Freak has always been. Like, from the get-go. It's never been any different. They've always not really been the company to push systems. However, I'll say that in more recent times... I wouldn't say that they make the most graphically intensive games for their systems, but that second generation that they're on a handheld tends to push the system a little bit, actually, and it looks substantially better than that first generation. So Sword and Shield is the first generation on Switch. The next generation is on Switch. That will look substantially better. And looking at the Isle of Armor, we can already see that Game Freak is moving ahead, and they're doing more. The entire Isle of Armor is wild area. In other words, you can control your camera wherever you are, which is something I sort of missed when I was in the towns. That was something I kind of wanted to see. Now, there's not really too many towns in Isle of Armor, but there are a few little buildings, and you can explore those. So that's fine. So there's more control there in terms of seeing the environment. There's more to see. It is fairly large and expansive. Like, it's a little bit larger than I thought it would be, and I do find myself sometimes getting lost. Which brings me to another point, though. I think they desperately need to have, like, a mini-map, because when you check the map, it doesn't actually tell where you're facing either, so it's very easy to get lost. And I like that there's not much of a HUD. I do appreciate that, but I don't think it would hurt to either A, have a button where you can press to see your compass, or at least so when you press the map, you can see where you're actually facing, or just put a mini-map and have it so you can toggle on or off. Something along those lines.
Any open world style games, they need mini-maps. It's so frustrating when you have to pause just to see the map. Just put a little, it's right in the corner, like every other game. Stop being weird and annoying.
Yeah. So, they're definitely moving in the right direction, I think, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with the Crown Tundra and what else could come beyond. But, it's a fun package so far. There's a little bit more to do. I like that you can, like, run around finding little Diglets. It's like basically like the Korok seeds for Breath of the Wild, and that's fun. They're not puzzles. You just have to kind of find them. Yeah. But
the DLC definitely seems like they're going in a direction that I would enjoy a lot more. Because in Sword and Shield, the wild area was cool. I really liked the idea of it, but it wasn't really integrated into the actual map. It was just kind of like, you can explore the area and then you explore the main game. I didn't really like that disconnect between them, so it really didn't feel all that interesting to explore it. But this sounds a lot better because the actual whole map's wild area, so it's a lot more integrated and everything. There's more reason to explore everything.
And the environments look a little nicer. Like, there's a forest there are several caves. Actually, just having caves is nice. There weren't really caves in Sword and Shield, and there are caves in this game. So, I mean, there were caves, but there weren't caves you could just run around and explore, is what I mean. There wasn't any wild area caves. So you have wild area caves, which is nice, and then there's this whole ocean you can explore as well. You can basically go almost around the entire island. There's a lot there, and I think it's fun. I love the direction they're headed in. I'm not going to speak too much on the story because I haven't gone through the whole story yet. I've just kind of caught a lot of Pokemon, and I'm just sort of running around doing that. I still don't even have Urshifu, so I guess I have not that far. Or I might have played more than you may think. I've probably put in 3 or 4 hours. I've just been running around catching stuff, and that's been fun. So
that's usually what I do when I start Pokemon. Yeah, it's just run around and catch everything,
and that's fun. And I think with the wild area, when I first saw it in my initial playthrough of Sword and Shield, there was a lot that I did there. I spent hours in the wild area before I went further, and I think them thinking of more ways to interact with the Pokemon and do things in the environment to make that gameplay more fun is an incredible direction. And it really is a lot like Breath of the Wild in that sense. Because Breath of the Wild, what you do, yeah, sure, you can progress the story, but a lot of the game is just kind of going off the beaten track, doing what you want. So using Breath of the Wild is sort of like, maybe, I don't want to say like a goal, but something to take some inspiration from in terms of how you interact with the environment and do the different things. I think there's something there, and I've seen it with the wild area. I've seen it with the wild area in the Isle of Armor. There's more to do, and it is kind of fun to just kind of run around, explore, and do these different things. So I think as Game Freak progresses, adding more things to do, obviously increasing performance and graphical fidelity, but continuing on that trend, I think the games will get really good in the future.
Yeah, I really like the direction they're heading now. It makes me excited.
So, I just want you guys to sort of take into consideration what we're talking about now, because I think it's going to matter when we're talking about that secret Pokemon game. Actually, maybe we should cover the Pokemon stuff first, and then we'll jump into Smash. So, give us a few more minutes to talk about Pokemon, and then we'll get into the rest. So, what should we cover first? Should we jump into that secret Pokemon project, or should we talk about new Pokemon Snap?
Let's start with new Pokemon Snap, just because it's kind of the first in the timeline of events.
Sure, that makes sense. So, new Pokemon Snap is a dream come true. New Pokemon Snap looks amazing. New Pokemon Snap, yes, from a graphical perspective, kind of destroys Sword and Shield. It absolutely really does. But I also want to point out that Pokemon Snap is focusing on one particular thing, and that thing is awesome. So if you're not familiar with Pokemon Snap, basically, Pokemon Snap, you are a guy, an adventurer, an explorer, that is trying to document Pokemon in their natural habitat. Your goal is to take pictures of them, and you are scored depending on their pose, how close you are, what they're doing. All these different things, you can get a score as you are going on an on-rails adventure through a different area for Pokemon, seeing them in their natural habitat, which I think is really cool. So what's really exciting to me about this is that we've seen on occasions Pokemon Company sort of go in this direction, sort of talk about Pokemon, how they have, like, as if they're like real animals, like give them reasons to do what they do, or for example, like the Alolan or Galarian form Pokemon. That's sort of going into the whole Galapagos idea, evolution. How depending on where you are, there are varying factors that can change how that animal evolves, right? And for these different Pokemon, depending on the area they're in, even if they are the same Pokemon, as certain time goes on, they sort of act a little differently. So I kind of like it when they sort of think of Pokemon as if they were real-world animals. And seeing Pokemon and Pokemon Snap, I think there's a huge opportunity here to take it to another level and really think about how these Pokemon would act in a natural environment, and depending on what sort of happens to them. So that's really exciting to me. And that's one of the things I love about Pokemon Snap, the original, especially sort of like the mystery behind it, like trying to find what else could be there. I think that is like the core essence of what made Pokemon Snap exciting to me. And seeing this new Pokemon Snap and seeing how what they also did with the whole Ponyta thing when they revealed that, and how they sort of had like it was kind of like they set a camera just so we could see the wildlife of that area. I would love to see what they're going to do with this full-scale new Pokemon Snap game. I'm just excited, man. I am fanboying over this so much. I can't believe they announced this. This is the thing I was always hoping they would do, and they finally did it. It just looks awesome.
I really want to see a VR support for this game.
Yes, 100% agree. Like, just you're using a camera. There is a Labo camera, and there's a Labo VR set. There is so much potential to do something with that. It doesn't have to be like a major component, even if it's not added immediately. Just to see it at some point, added would be nice, just to play around with that idea.
Yeah, I would really, really enjoy it. I always enjoy it when they support the VR headset. I always try out like every single thing that they put on there, because I love VR stuff. And VR, when Nintendo actually did that, I thought that was really, really cool. And I've been surprised by how much they've been supporting it, so I wouldn't be too shocked if they do support it for this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's VR support,
especially because they have
Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. There's a couple others.
Super Smash Brothers.
Is it in Mario Kart as well?
It's not in Mario Kart. I don't think it's in Smash.
But it is in Smash Brothers, and those are major games. So, but it makes sense for it to be added to Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever released the actual camera one that they had in one of the trailers.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they're saving it.
They didn't release it, yeah.
Maybe.
They might release it alongside this game.
Maybe. Which kind of brings me to another question I want to ask you. When do you think this is coming out? Because they didn't give us a release date. The copyrights are for 2020, but I don't think that really means much.
Right, that doesn't mean much.
Obviously I want it to come out this year, but they didn't give us a release date. So
right. It makes me feel like it might not be this year.
Yeah.
Because they put a big emphasis on the fact that the game's not finished yet.
Yeah.
Like they put it in the text, and at the end they had like a whole scene of it.
If it's coming out, it'll be at the end. If it's coming out this year, it's gonna be at the end of the year at the earliest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
wouldn't be surprised if it's slated for early 2021.
That makes more sense. Yeah, I don't think it's like far off. Like we're not gonna wait like more than a year for this.
Pokemon Company doesn't usually announce things that far ahead of time.
Right. Which gives me some hope that maybe it could come out sooner. But given that they didn't give us a release date, I'm thinking, yeah, probably early next year makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I could see us seeing it again. Like, say, for example, with a Nintendo Direct, maybe around September, and that's when they give us the release date, and they're like, oh, this is coming out in January or March, February, or something like that.
That could happen.
Yeah. So I think that makes the most sense, especially because it'll keep me from getting disappointed if it doesn't come out this year, which I think is likely at this point. But either way, I love what I've seen of the game. What are your impressions on it, Brandon, like just from what you've seen so far?
I thought it looked really stunningly beautiful. I mean, it wasn't like the most graphically impressive game I've ever seen, obviously, but it definitely had a nice art style to it. The textures were good. The lighting was gorgeous. The water was super gorgeous. All the water shots that they did, you could like see the coral underneath, and the water was like crystal clear. It was just gorgeous. It just looked a lot better than Sword and Shield. It kind of makes me excited. Maybe they'll the next mainline Pokemon game might look like that, or even better. Would be nice.
Yeah, I don't. If it did, that'd be amazing. But I guess another point to consider is that this probably isn't an open world game. This is probably on rails. I recently played Pokemon Snap. For the record, I'm working on a video, which should come out this week, even though I'm away from home. And it's about Pokemon Snap. And looking at the footage, it looks like there's going to be branching paths. But besides that, it still looks like it's going to be on rails. Now, there might be some control that you have on where you can go about in the environment. Like maybe there's going to be different paths you can either choose, and I would say that's the best case scenario, but there's still going to be paths. That's how I sort of see it, at least from what we've seen so far.
Right.
And I'm fine with that, actually, because this is Pokemon Snap. Like, it's basically like an on-rail shooter.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's fine. And actually, I think that's an awesome opportunity for there to be co-op. Like, why can't there be two cameras? You know?
Yeah, co-op would be nice.
Yeah, and have two Joy-Cons to play with. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. So I think there could definitely be co-op there. I think there's for sure going to be branching paths. And actually, if you look at the trailer, you see like the same sort of like ecosystems, but you see them at different times of the day. So I think the potential here is that these ecosystems are the same area, and you can explore them at different times of the day. And we've seen actual paths that seem to diverge. So the implication is that you'll be able to explore these different areas at different times of the day and different routes through these areas. And maybe you can mix and match that as well. That'd be really cool to see.
That would be nice.
So in other words, there could be a lot, even though the world may not be open, there might be a lot more paths within one single area, and there's going to be different times you can go. And different times I think will for sure matter, because in the Pokemon world, sometimes the time of day can lead to different Pokemon coming out. So different Pokemon coming out, different parts of seeing different. There's going to be a lot more Pokemon in this game. I think you can book it. You're not going to see every Pokemon. That's not going to happen. Yeah. There's way too many. But there's definitely going to be a lot more Pokemon than the original. And I think it's likely that we'll get DLC with other areas with more Pokemon.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just really hope that they focus on representing these Pokemon as if they were real animals in a natural environment. Obviously, with Pokemon powers, but just think about how they would be if they were real. And that would just be so nice to see, and just think of more ways to interact with them. There was a few ways you could interact with Pokemon in the original Pokemon set, and I felt like that was kind of impressive for the time. But just imagine how much more they could do now, like perhaps flashing the Pokemon with light. How will they respond with that? Obviously throwing apples and things of that nature as well, but now, there's a whole bunch of berries. What if these different berries can lead to different things as well? Or what if there's a tree and you could shake it? I think there's a lot they can maybe do, and the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, I definitely hope for a lot more interactions, because that was one of the things that made the original special.
And another thing that I noticed is that there might be underwater exploration. Like, it's clear that it's when you can see through the water. That's modeled.
Yeah,
and
you can.
There's like a dome over the capsule that you travel through. So it looks like it could totally go in water. It looks like you could totally go in space. And for the record, there are Pokemon that have been in space, so they could have a space area. And actually, in the original Pokemon Snap, there was one area that was somewhere pretty crazy towards the end. So I think there's a lot of things they could do. And with that capsule, since it's covered now and there's no wheels, it could go potentially anywhere. So there's a lot more environments they could show off this time around, and obviously with more power, there's so much they could show off. And actually, there's way more foliage now, so there's a lot more opportunity to hide Pokemon, and you have to think of different ways to find them and catch them, or not catch them, but like capture a photo of them.
Right.
So, oh man, this is gonna be so cool. I am very much looking forward to this. I think it'll be fun. It looks pretty awesome. So I'm very excited about it. But let's see what you guys are saying about this in the chat, and then we will move forward to the next topic. Unless there's anything else you want to add for Pokemon Snap, Brandon.
No, I think we should look at the comments.
Right. Let's see here. All right, so I'm gonna focus on ads right now, so we can move forward with the discussion, guys. 764. Do you think Sakurai will add break the targets? I would love it if Sakurai were to add break the targets. I can't
break the targets and board the platforms.
I have to tell you though that at this stage, I do not expect it.
No,
I would love it, but I do not expect it because he's already said there won't be any more modes. So I'm not expecting any more modes because that's what he told us. But if it happens, I'll be right there with you, booming with excitement.
Oh yeah.
The Go 55. Will we try to be spoiler free? Yes. I mean, I guess we were referencing Isle of Armor. We didn't spoil anything. You play the game and eventually the DLC ends. There isn't it. I don't think anyone dies, but I'm not sure. Cycly, hello there, bud. Let's see here. Brandon the Brony Pony. I want the new Pokemon project to be Diamond and Pearl remakes, but I think it'll be Let's Go Johto, and that'll be this year's holiday game, and Sinnoh remakes will come out next year. Well, I like your optimism here, and I definitely think to some extent you may be right, and that's what we're going to be talking about next, so definitely a good way to sort of segue, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jake Miller said, hey everyone, if you like the content, remember to leave a like. Thank you, sir. Yes, leaving a like would be greatly appreciated, guys. And if anyone you know would also want to listen in on the Nintendo podcast, for sure, share it. That would be great. Yeah. Let me see here. The Joker. Whoa, is everything small? It may our footage may appear a little bit smaller because I'm doing a different setup that I just set up just really quick right now because I didn't even plan on doing the podcast this way. But I went away to see my dad for Father's Day, so I had to put everything together, and this is not my traditional setup. So that if it looks different, it's because it is different. Sitting here, all right. Well, yeah. So if you guys have any other questions, just make sure to add us. But now let's talk about that secret Pokemon project. That would be pretty freaking cool. So, well, before we get started, I see we got a super chat here. Thank you very much, Cycly. Pretty sure I missed a bunch of your birthdays, so here's a little something. That means a lot. Thank you so much, man. That is awesome. Thank you. So, but let's jump into this discussion about this next Pokemon project. As Brandon the Brony Pointy brought up, that there could be something, right? It could be Let's Go Johto. It could be Sinnoh remakes. I think it's interesting that Pokemon Company Ishihara said that they had another presentation, a big project to announce something that would be this upcoming week, and they just had a presentation talking about a whole bunch of things. So why would they have to have a separate presentation?
It's gotta be something that's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, to warrant an entire separate presentation, it's gotta be a pretty decently length presentation. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just have it in the same one? Like, even if it was a big announcement, it's gotta be something they gotta talk about for a pretty decent amount of time.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So,
I feel like they would have been the same thing.
Do you think it has to be? Do you think it's going to be a video game?
I think it probably has to be a video game.
Okay. Like, yeah, I'm inclined to agree that it's a video game. Like, I don't think they would have a presentation like that to announce a new movie or a new series, and they have Pokemon Journeys already, and we kind of know about the movies in advance, so it's probably not that.
Yeah. There's a movie that's like just came out or is about to come out, isn't there?
I mean, when do they have presents where it's not about games? And they're not always called presents, but whenever they have a direct or present or whatever you want to call it, a presentation.
It is strange that they didn't call these directs.
It is, but
odd.
Look at Sakurai Presents. They used to be called Smash Directs, now they're Sakurai Presents. I don't know.
True.
I think maybe they just wanted to stay away from the direct branding just because people have a hunger for directs potentially, so they just sort of stay away from that.
That's definitely
because otherwise it's exactly the same. The format is the same. There's no difference between what we got this time and last time, except there's just different Pokemon games to show off for different parts of them. So there is no difference. I just think it is what it is. And we actually, to tell you the truth, I completely forgot about this, but earlier in the year when we got a Pokemon Direct, they said there'll be more announcements for Pokemon later this year, and I completely forgot about that. So when this Pokemon Presents came up, I was like, wait, what are they doing? Why? There's no need. Except there was, because...
They did say that, didn't they?
They did. So there's more Pokemon games to talk about.
I forgot about that completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely... we should have seen it coming, but, it happened. So I got a couple ads here. I'm going to check into them before we delve further into this topic. Forkin and Porg added me. I think they should add a remade version to the game with the first island because the original takes place on one island, and the game says this is the islands that Pokemon live on. So this is in reference to Pokemon Snap. It did say multiple islands, right? So if they had like a remade island from the original, that would be really awesome to see for sure. That would be a huge
That'd be cool.
trip. I don't know if they'll do it simply because, there's different areas to that. I mean, maybe it could be you kind of go through different parts of it as. I don't think it's impossible, and actually, it wouldn't shock me if most of the areas, or would just be. Because those areas are small, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if all the areas that were in the original Pokemon Snap are basically equivalent to one area in the new Pokemon Snap, maybe. So this game development now is on a much larger scale. Games are far larger and longer than there ever have been. So if they were able to encompass most of the areas in a remade version of the original Pokemon Snap Island, for one level, that wouldn't shock me. So maybe that'd be really cool to see. I see Cycly added me. Unfortunately, it's 3:45 a.m. for me. I'm currently recovering from surgery. Would be awesome to talk with you guys again through Discord DMs, so hit me up whenever, for sure. And good luck with your surgery. I hope that you have a speedy recovery. Okay?
Same.
So, but continuing the discussion, I think this new Pokemon game, for there to be a whole other presentation, the only thing that would sort of warrant its own presentation, like you said, Brandon, they would need to sort of talk about and explain what's going on, would be kind of another mainline entry. I don't think that, for example, Pokemon Snap, that was a pretty major announcement, and that was thrown into the presentation. I have a hard time imagining if, say, for example, it was Pokemon Coliseum, a new Pokemon Coliseum. As cool as that would be, I don't think they would need to have that for its own
thing.
presentation. Now, the only reason I can think of it maybe needing its own presentation if it was like a Pokemon Coliseum thing for the Switch would be because the way you transfer your Pokemon, they might want to explain that process a little bit. Like, you would obviously be able to bring in your Pokemon from Sword and Shield and play them with Pokemon Coliseum. But I really don't think it would be that complicated because if you have your Pokemon Home, whatever is in Home can be used in this new Pokemon Coliseum game. So that's basically how I think I would envision that. I don't think it'd be too complicated. So I don't think it would need its own Pokemon Presents for that. And because we're getting Pokemon Snap now, I definitely don't think we're getting Coliseum this year or anytime soon. On top of the fact that Sword and Shield, the battles themselves are already, HD graphics. The whole idea behind Coliseum and Stadium back in the day was a way to play with your Pokemon in battles with better graphics, with 3D, awesome-looking graphics on your home console, because Pokemon games were in handheld. There's not as much reason to make a game like that now because Sword and Shield are on the home console now. You can make the argument maybe you want it to be a bit more spectacular, and maybe there's still reason to do that, but the reason is not as great as it used to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But my main point being here is that I just don't see there being a spin-off that would warrant its own presents.
No.
So either it's some sort of weird thing that is huge, but we don't know what it is, or it's another mainline Pokemon game. I doubt it would even be Pokemon Sleep.
Level.
Why? If it's Pokemon Sleep, why? They had Pokemon Smile.
Yeah, why?
Which is the same thing in my book. Now, obviously, it's different because one's dealing with sleeping and the other was with brushing your teeth. But the whole concept of using Pokemon to encourage healthy activity, that's the same. It would be basically another app that would do something that would be kind of maybe free to play or free to use, and that would be it. So I don't think it needs its own presentation either, unless they think it's some sort of crazy innovation and they're going to have the special accessories and all this stuff with it. I really doubt it. Maybe they somehow think that Pokemon Sleep's going to be the next Pokemon Go, but I really doubt that. I think this is probably a mainline game.
Yeah, I think it has to be.
But I guess the other thing to take into consideration, though, is that if it is a mainline game, is it coming out this year? We have the Crown Tundra DLC coming out in November.
Yeah.
Is there would they do that? Would they overlap like that?
I don't think there's a point in doing that.
They might. I don't know. My personal belief is that if it's Sinnoh remakes or Let's Go Johto, whatever mainline Pokemon game it is, I don't think it's gonna come at the same time as a Crown Tundra. No,
I think that would be a bad business decision because you're essentially you're competing with yourself for business.
Yeah.
Because they're both the same. Mm-hmm. If you have the Let's Go style, it's a bit different type of Pokemon, but they're still both mainline entries, so they're still both the same audience. So.
Yeah.
You space that out.
Mm-hmm. I think they have to space it out. I think what it could mean, right, as I discussed in my video earlier this week, is that what it may mean is that it is maybe a mainline Pokemon game, right? And what's going to happen is that they're going to announce it, but it's not going to come out November. It's not going to be the holiday game. There's a Crown Tundra DLC. I don't see them overshadowing that, like you said, Brandon. But I think maybe they could announce it now, and it won't be the holiday game next year either. But what will happen is it'll come out earlier next year. And what that's going to lead to is a situation where Pokemon Company is no longer releasing the mainline Pokemon games every holiday season. And I think that's actually really important. Because here's the thing. On the handhelds, sure. Having Pokemon be that big November release every year made sense. But now Pokemon is on Switch, where there's all of Nintendo's teams developing games, where you get the big 3D Zeldas, the big Marios, the Metroids, all those things. And all those games would be big holiday games. And normally in the past, what has happened on the handheld, you get a Pokemon game, maybe one other game like a month or so earlier from Nintendo, but at the same time on the home console, you have a really big game come out around the same time in November that's like a Mario or a Zelda. But now, because everything's on one system, I could see Game Freak and Pokemon Company positioning themselves where they no longer have their mainline Pokemon game coming out at the end of every year, but perhaps at different points. So this year or next year, maybe we get Let's Go Johto around March, or like right at the end of the fiscal year. You know, Pokemon games way back when used to come out a while ago. You know, like they used to come out like I mean like earlier in the year is what I was trying to say. And actually,
I'm thinking actually maybe we might get Pokemon Snap around that time and get the mainline Pokemon maybe late summer.
Could be. But just for perspective here, Pokemon Black and White was Generation 5. That came out back in 2010, so 10 years ago. That came out in September. So, you know, it's a little different. Now, me looking at X and Y, I think X and Y is when they started transitioning to, like, that holiday period. And that was October 2013. But if we go to, like, say, for example, Pearl and Diamond, which is a while ago. Pearl and Diamond. Okay, well, apparently when you Google just Pearl and Diamond, it doesn't send you just to Pearl and Diamond Pokemon. It sends you to jewelry. Yeah, go figure, right? Yeah.
People and their real world knowledge.
Okay, let's see what it says. September 2006. So maybe it's something they announced. I don't see us waiting over a year, though, if it's a mainline Pokemon game from announcement. I think it would come out early in September. The reason why I looked into this was just that Pokemon games used to come out not at the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can see what you mean about Pokemon Snap coming out earlier in the year. Which, I mean, this whole thing is weird, because it's not something we've seen. We don't really have too much like of a history of this happening in the way it has. It's just kind of weird. So it's sort of uncharted territory. But I just don't think that they're going to have a mainline Pokemon game come out at the same time as the Crown Tundra. They are going to push the Crown Tundra. No. The Crown Tundra is a big deal. The Crown Tundra is a bigger deal than the Isle of Armor. So I just don't see that happening. I could see it coming out in the first half of next year, but not this year. I mean, if it does, hey, awesome. I'm all for it. Another Pokemon game would be great. But I just don't expect it. Especially if it's Gen 4 remakes that's like with Wild Air. Like if it's going to be the same style of game as Sword and Shield, there is no way that is coming out at the same time as the Crown Tundra DLC. There's 100%
There's absolutely 0% chance of that happening.
What I could somewhat see, but I still think is really unlikely, is that they have a Let's Go series come out around that time, because that's a little different. Maybe.
Right.
But even then, I would expect that to come out next year, because I still think that's too much overlap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that note, though, what do you think? So we agree it's a mainline Pokemon game? Well, obviously we could be wrong, because it's all speculation, guys. It may be something. Mm-hmm. It may just be Pokemon Couch. Hey, guys, we're going to start selling Pokemon couches, and it's going to be different faces of Pokemon on your couch, and it grabs you when you sit on it. What if?
Oh, God.
Probably not, though. It's probably, I mean, I think it's a mainline Pokemon game. I think. I'm 50-50 on it, but it's like it seems like the most likely thing, so that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
But what would it be? I don't think it's a Sword and Shield sequel, because, well, guess what? The DLC is still a thing now. We're not going to be worrying about the next mainline entry in the Sword and Shield line this year. That they have the DLC, so it's not that. Pearl and Diamond remakes would be awesome, but at the same time, I feel like that's kind of the same thing. It would be like the next mainline entry in the series. I feel like what makes the most sense is Let's Go. Let's Go is something that we've seen in interviews for where they've talked about, hey, we would be considered doing this again. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are one of the best-selling games on the Switch. They sold really, really well. There's still Pokemon Go stuff happening. Everyone loves Generation 2. But also, we've seen some things that seem to maybe hint towards that. And there is a history. If you watch my video, I showed some evidence. There's a history of Game Freak and Pokemon Company teasing other Pokemon games before they're actually revealed. So the best example is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. For like 6 months, there was pictures of Pikachu and Eevee everywhere all over the world. People were like, yo, why is everyone... Like, Pikachu's one thing, because he's the main mascot of Pokemon, for sure. But Eevee is not. And we saw Eevee everywhere, almost the same level as Pikachu, if not more. And what did that lead to? The announcement of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Point being, They totally tease these things. And it'll also say, but the week before Sword and Shield was revealed, they had a whole Pokemon presentation. They talked about a whole bunch of things, and they started talking about Godzilla. Why were they talking about Godzilla randomly during a Pokemon presentation? The reason being is because they were teasing Dynamax and Gigantamax in Sword and Shield. So the history's there, the evidence is there. Pokemon Company, Game Freak, they totally tease things. And that doesn't even get into like teases we've seen in game. The problem with that is that sometimes it could be a nod and sometimes it could be a tease. We've seen it. Sometimes it's just something weird, and sometimes it actually applies to something. One example I brought up in my video was that if you go to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, when you fought Sabrina for the second time, she would say, I see me fighting a trainer like you 3 years from now. So Sabrina's a psychic, so she can see into the future, and there's also, with the story of Pokemon from Generation 1 to 2, it's a few years later. So it's implying that someone like you, the character, would come and face her, potentially a Generation 2, which is supposed to be set a few years after Generation 1, for a Let's Go Johto. And that could be a tease towards Let's Go Johto. I think there's a huge potential of that. But I'll also say, if you watch the Pokemon Presents, guys, there was a Sudowoodo plushie, a Ampharos, a Politoed, a Ho-Oh, a Lugia, a Typhlosion, a Feraligatr, an Umbreon, an Espeon. All of those are Generation 2 Pokemon. The only other Pokemon that were there were the new Gen starters, but they were cut off at the top. Pikachu, Eevee, Mewtwo, Lapras, and Slowpoke. Everything else was all Generation 2, and they were hiding the Let's Go Eevee box and the Let's Go Pikachu box behind plushies.
Yep.
Weird. Why was there such a huge Generation 2 focus? Like, there's so many new Pokemon. Isle of Armor just came out. Why not have an Urshifu plushie? Why not have a Calyrex plushie or something else? Like one of the new Pokemon. Like
they didn't really have any.
No Toxtricity. Nothing.
Like, no. There wasn't really any Sword and Shield references.
Not really.
Behind him.
Besides the starters that were cut off. They weren't visible.
Right. It was almost exclusively Gen 2 and Let's Go stuff.
I think that's weird. I think it's so weird that it's probably a tease. And considering that it wouldn't make sense to announce Pearl and Diamond remakes right now if they were to be in style of Sword and Shield, like the next hardcore mainline entry, because of the Crown Tundra DLC, what makes the most sense for them to announce Let's Go. Now, if it's Let's Go, I still don't think it would come out this year just because I still think like it's overlap. If I'm wrong, that's fine. I will eat my words. I am fine with that. I will love to play Let's Go this year. Generation 2 is my favorite generation. But I still feel like it's more likely coming out early next year.
Yeah, it makes most sense.
Yeah, but I mean, is there anything that, like, in your eyes could maybe mean it? Like, is there any, like, evidence going against it being Let's Go Johto? Obviously, sometimes they just randomly do things. Like, a tease could be a tease to us, but it could just be them thinking, hey, we want to put these because whatever, we feel like loving Generation 2 today. You know, it doesn't have to mean anything.
I will say before this last presentation, I feel like the general consensus was Pearl and Diamond remakes.
But that's
that could just be the fans wanting what it wants, but
you can make the argument there was some marketing leading towards that, and this doesn't mean Pearl and Diamond remakes won't happen.
I definitely think they're happening eventually, obviously.
Yeah, but I'll also say that we are getting the Reggies and stuff in the Crown Tundra, which is like a Gen 4 thing, and it is a cold, mountainous area, like Gen 4. So that might be meant for the Gen 4 fix for now, which may seem like not great for Gen 4 Sinnoh Remake fans. And I also think it would be weird that if they were to announce Let's Go Johto and then the next year have another remake, be kind of strange, but I wouldn't.
I mean, they could if they want to give a lot of time to the next generation.
You know, it'd be cool, and this is just an idea of mine that Game Freak has never really done quite like it. But what if, like, so they weren't to do a remake, but they were to do like a sequel to Sinnoh, if that makes sense. Like, you go back to Sinnoh, but there's a few more areas, the stories. It's a different story. It's maybe set into the future. Kind of like what if they did like a Black White 2, but for Sinnoh. So we still get to see Sinnoh remade. We still explore the areas you love, see the characters you love, but it's like a different take on it. My only reasoning for bringing this up, and I'm not saying this is like likely, it's just like speculation, because if we're getting Let's Go Johto now, and Sinnoh remakes are perhaps the game that comes after that, why would they have one remake and then another remake, like back-to-back remakes? It would almost make more sense to have a remake and then have something that's like a new take. But if you're returning to another region, you know, maybe there's something there. But that's not something the Game Freak has ever done, so I don't expect it. But I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Especially if they added like a wild area to Sinnoh.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. But let's check in with the chat, see what you guys think here. Just going through. Flurkin and Pork. What about the Detective Pikachu remake and sequel? Also, how about a sequel to Pokemon Tournament? So, my thing about those...
I don't think either of those require their own presentation.
That's it. It's not that I don't think they shouldn't happen. I totally think they should happen. I think we've actually gotten information suggesting that they are working on some sort of sequel for Detective Pikachu. But why save it for its own presentation, like you said, Brandon? Why? I guess the only way I could see it being, say, like Detective Pikachu 2 is that they also coincide this with a new Detective Pikachu movie that has its, and they have like a Detective Pikachu trailer for the movie and the game. Maybe that. But actually, I think we heard recently, it's not 100% confirmed, but we heard recently that there is a new Pokemon movie in the works, and it's about Red and Blue. Which sounds super cool, by the way, just for the record. I don't think we got to talk about that because we didn't have a podcast last week. Like, that would be really cool to see as a movie, but that also would go against the theory of there being a Detective Pikachu trailer for a new movie, but also a new game. Otherwise, I just don't see why they would need to save that for its own presentation. I just don't see it. And Pokemon Tournament, like, that, as far as I'm aware, that's basically it's the same level as a Pokemon Snap trailer. Super cool. If they had it, it should have just been there. On top of that, Bandai Namco, I'm pretty sure, is the one that developed Pokemon Tournament. Right now, they're developing Pokemon Snap. Could they have multiple teams and develop 2 different Pokemon games? Sure. But what are the odds that Bandai Namco, of all the different development companies, be developing 2 Pokemon games? I feel like that makes it, you know, like I feel like they would work on one at a time. So, I don't think it's Pokemon Tournament either. As much as I'd love to see that, because Pokemon Tournament is epic. I think it's more like the mainline game. So, yeah. And when I say mainline, I mean Let's Go, not like Sinnoh remakes or a Sword and Shield 2 sequel. Which I also think might be possible, because we've seen in Sword and Shield, like, different characters are talking about what they'll be in the future. Like, there's a lot of characters you're finding they're trying to be gym leaders, even in the DLC. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but... And I saw my friend playing it, that's why I saw this. In the Isle of Armor, there is something that is said by one of the characters that implies that something else is going to happen in the future. I'll save a video. Maybe we'll work on a video talking about potential for a Sword and Shield sequel or something like that. Point is, there's evidence suggesting, at least from the story, that there's more is going to happen to Galar in the future. And I don't think it's all just going to happen in the Crown Tundra. And if it is, that means the Crown Tundra is going to be amazing, which also means if we're going to have this amazing Crown Tundra DLC, why have another Pokemon game come out at the same time?
Right.
There's even more reason to like, question that. Hard to say, but I just don't think they would save one whole presentation for another spin-off game.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Captain Rex. Maybe a Pokemon Go present. That, I think, maybe. Like, if they have some sort of huge expansion announcement for Pokemon Go, or a sequel to Pokemon Go, that I could see warranting its own presentation if it was something major. But they're still updating Pokemon Go now, and they just made an announcement that they're adding Mega Evolution to Pokemon Go in the Pokemon Presents. Like, if they're making the big deal,
yeah, that doesn't make any sense,
of adding Mega Evolution, why would they then have another presentation a week later about Pokemon Go stuff again? Like,
that doesn't make any sense.
Maybe, but it would be weird, and I don't expect it. You know? The Joker. Like, let's say Sinnoh remake, but with both but both a top-down view and a 3D view like Dragon Quest. That would be really interesting, actually. I would like to see something like that, maybe. But I'll also say that kind of brings it to another point I made in my video earlier this week. The Let's Go series is going to be more rooted in traditional Pokemon gameplay. And as we've seen with the Isle of Armor, Game Freak is moving in the direction of wild area gameplay. They're evolving that idea. But what that's going to mean, a lot of the traditional gameplay we've known from previous Pokemon games is going to sort of not be the case anymore with these games. So what they might want to do is have two different series to appeal to fans who just kind of like the traditional old Pokemon. But with the mainline entries, they're going to allow themselves to experiment more, try new things, and advance that series. So that kind of adds more reason for the Let's Go series to sort of stick around, because it is more traditional, but obviously with the whole Go mechanic. What do you think of that, Brandon? Nothing?
I don't know.
Like, do you see Let's Go as something that would be a good way to satiate fans who prefer traditional Pokemon, and then that would allow Game Freak to move ahead with the wild area concept and to get more experimental with their newer Pokemon games?
I do think that would actually be a really good idea. I definitely don't want them to hold back on the mainline series.
We do know that they've been continually expanding their development team, so it does seem like they're trying to up the ante moving forward.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
And I actually would like it if they, took an extra year to really make that really, really good.
Yeah, and I'll
but
say
they did crank out 2 extra wild areas really quickly.
Right. Using the same engine
for Sword and Shield.
Right.
So.
What I could see is that, let's say Pokemon Let's Go comes out next year, then they could wait a long time before the next Pokemon game. Like, it could be like a year and a half. Like, and that would give them a little bit more time than beforehand. Because I know people are like already complaining, and to an extent I agree. I wanted Game Freak to start taking more breaks. So, and the DLC was exciting because it meant that they didn't spend their development efforts on making a third version, but DLC, which is a little easier, and that, it gives them more time and resources to focus on the next big Pokemon game a few years down the road. But then if they announce Let's Go, that's a whole other game. But they have multiple development teams. They're always working multiple games at the same time. That doesn't mean the main team isn't taking more time to work on that next big Pokemon game. So,
yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily bad news that they aren't taking more time to do that. I keep pulling my cord. I'm sorry, guys. This setup, I'm not used to it. I do hope that they even if they don't take their time, I just hope that they add a lot more people so the games could be bigger and better. And traditionally, as we noted earlier, every second generation of a Pokemon on the new system, it looks a lot better and does more. So I think that's still going to be the case. But right now, I'm thinking they're totally going to announce Let's Go Johto this week.
Yeah, that does make the most sense.
The Joker saying Diamond and Pearl came to the West in April 2007. It might have.
April?
Well, what I'm seeing here on the Google says it came out September 20, 2006. But that could be vary depending on the region for sure. Let me see here.
Usually Google specifies each region.
I'm gonna take a deeper look here. So the release dates, right, so it came out September 2006 in Japan, but it came out April 2007 in North America. So we're both right.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yep.
That makes a little sense.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
That was back in the days of non-worldwide release dates. We live in a much more fortunate time these days.
Yeah. So, Stab64, do you think Pokemon Stadium 3 could happen? I would love it if Pokemon Stadium 3 could happen.
Oh, I would love that.
Two things. They kind of counter each other. One, for years, over 20 in fact, we've been begging, wishing, and dreaming of a new Pokemon Snap, and it happened. So anything is possible. But I'll also counter that wishful thinking with Sword and Shield is already on the home console, and a big point of the old Stadium games was to give you a way to battle on your TV with better graphics on the home console, because Pokemon games were just on the handheld. But because Sword and Shield and the mainline Pokemon games are all in the same system now, I think there's less reason to have a Stadium. But I'll also admit that I would love it if they were to just focus on the battle engine and just make that amazing. Right. So, you know,
I would say there's every Pokemon fighting games have always looked really good for their generation. I mean, the one that came out on the Wii, people are still talking about how the battle animations look, you know, and even nowadays. In that game, you put that in emulator, even that 1080p, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So that was back on the Wii. So imagine what kind of stuff they could do that would push way past what they're doing in Sword and Shield for battles in a new Stadium game. Yeah. So I will say I agree that, you know, going from 8-bit to full 3D graphics back, you know, when the original Stadium came out it's not as big a jump as that, but I still think they could make something that looks really good. I mean, Pokemon tournament models look a lot better.
New Pokemon Snap models look pretty good too. So
yeah, they did.
I mean, yeah, Pokemon tournament has they have like texture to them, which is interesting. And seeing something like that would be cool. And we go back to Pokemon Battle Revolution. We saw a Pokemon sort of running up. There was a lot more scope.
Yeah.
And I'll also concede that in the Isle of Armor, which is really cool, like when you go out to the beach, you see a giant, massive Wailord in the water. And it's epic. And you can catch it. But here's a funny thing. When you go into battle, it's tiny. It shrinks down. And that's because of the way the battles are set up in Sword and Shield. Scale isn't really scaled appropriately. I think part of the problem is they have Dynamax now, but I actually do have a lot of issues with the way, like, I like how a lot of things look, I like the music, but I also think that there's a lot of room for improvement. Like when the Pokemon Dynamax, there's supposed to be like this giant roar, but different parts of the sound like sort of mute at the same time, and it's not as impactful as it could be. And then the way the cameras sort of pan, you can't see as much things as you would like to see. So there's different elements there that could certainly be improved upon, for sure. And yes, and I'll also say that people have complained about, even though I do think Sword and Shield battles look pretty good, sometimes people complain about how like some of the attacks look like they don't always match the Pokemon themselves. And a lot of that I do think comes from that they're trying to develop this whole game and have these battle animations, but they have to apply to all these same types of moves to a whole bunch of different kinds of Pokemon, like 50 or hundreds of them. So that can create a lot of challenges. That's just
pretty common for RPGs in general that have moves that extend over multiple characters.
Right. But if you have a game that's dedicated to just the battles, that's your entire development effort. You don't have to worry about the adventure, the story, none of that.
It's like when people complain about armor clipping on a game where you have like a custom character. It's like, well, of course, like it's a customizable character.
Right, like if it wasn't customized,
like there's just
fine.
So many moves over so many Pokemon that it would take a ton of time. But when you have a much smaller, focused, roster, you can really go all out with it.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I don't, like I said, I want to say that I do agree that there's still a need for that style of game, but it's not as strong as it used to be, if that's clear.
Yeah.
But it would be awesome to see, because there's definitely focusing on just that would be really, really awesome. And a lot of you guys keep bringing up Pokemon Colosseum. I can see Jake Miller remake of Pokemon Colosseum potentially. That would be really cool, because Colosseum was more than just the battles. There was like a story and an adventure to that. But I think since you have like the mainline Sword and Shield entries on the Switch, having another separate adventure, kind of less reason for it, but there was like that, I forget what it even was, the other Pokemon that was like, it was like a dark version of it, and that was in Colosseum, so some people are thinking that maybe they're hinting at that, like dark Pokemon, which would be cool to see. Pokemon Presents.
I could see. I mean, those games could possibly be remade. I mean, we saw Mystery Dungeon get a remake. I feel like Colosseum can get a remake.
True. It's not impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just kind of questioning the likelihood of it.
and I'm not saying I think that's what's gonna happen.
But yeah, it's
tomorrow.
It's not entirely out of the question either.
No, I think it has a decent chance.
Well, I'll say what is gonna happen tomorrow: Smash presentation. Yeah, so I just want to double. There's like a dark Pikachu in the image. So that is funny that they have that, but I don't know what it would be hinting at. Maybe it could be, the whole Coliseum remake thing, but I'm gonna guess probably not. Maybe.
Probably not.
Just because there's a bigger focus on Generation 2,
Oh yeah, by far.
Yeah. But moving on though, I think it's time that we move on to Smash Brothers. Because, like I said, we do this for about an hour. We're already at an hour. So, the rest of this is dedicated to Smash Brothers. So, yeah. And actually, let me get to, let me see. Yeah, we already sort of got to your different questions, right? Yeah, we did. Did I answer Sarah's question about if we think Pokemon Stadium 3 could happen? I don't know if I got you.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
We went into that.
See, my brain just is out of it. But let's see. Actually, there's one more. How about a game based on the anime? Highly unlikely, but a man can dream, right? A game based on the anime. Well, Let's Go is like somewhat like that, Like there's elements with like the different Pokemon games sometimes have elements from the anime. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't like
but not one
the story of the anime.
Based on them.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
I think that could be cool, but I don't know if that would happen. Not
in place of the mainline Pokemon games. Now, I want to point out that the source material is the video games, right? Like everything stems from that. So to have it be the other way around would be interesting, but I don't know if that would happen. But it would be cool for sure. Captain Rex added me before we jump into Smash. I think Game Freak and Pokemon Company were making anti-racism stand out or racism. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna I won't get into politics, but Dark Pikachu could be hard to say. But anyway, let's jump into Smash. So. That presentation's happening tomorrow. And we won't be getting another character revealed, but the ARMS character's gonna get revealed, and they're gonna talk about who it is. And say, obviously they'll reveal it and say how the character plays, and I expect the character will probably come out this week, but maybe they'll wait till the end of the month. But we're gonna find out tomorrow. And I think it's gonna be a big deal because, one, Smash, a new Smash character, that's always fun, for sure. Also, like, who it is going to have implications for what else could happen, Like, if it's Springman, assist trophies could come back. If it's Ribbon Girl, me costumes could, become playable characters. If it's Min Min or Ninjara or Twintail, that means spirits can totally happen too, So,
you just listed all of, the most likely ones.
Yeah. Was Min Min a spirit?
I think she is.
I thought I think. Let me. I just want to double check. I think she was.
I think Min Min's something.
Let me see. List of Spirits Arms series. Springman, Ribbon Girl, Min Min, Twintail, Ninjara. Yep. So those are the ones. Yep. So either way, if any of those make it in, that says that spirits are not. They don't stop a character from having a chance to become playable. So that whole argument's out the window, So I think that's gonna have huge implications. And even if it isn't that, let's say none of the spirits become playable, fine. It would also mean that it doesn't have to be the main character for its series either, because all the rest of the DLC has been the main character from their respective series. So no matter what happens tomorrow, a rule will be broken. I want to say they're rules. I don't think there's actually hard rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Our rules that we made up.
Right. So the speculation is going to change no matter what happens. And that's pretty cool. So what are your thoughts on who the character is going to be?
I am really hoping for a hero style situation here. I'm hoping that's what they're gonna go for. I think the roster that makes the most sense to me would be Springman, Ribbon Girl, Min Min, and Ninjara.
Oh, so you agree with me then? You think it's gonna be multiple characters like Hero?
Yes.
We're all in.
Yes, I think it needs
Like,
to.
I'm sorry if we disappoint you guys. That's just what we. That was. That
I
was
think
like
it'll
my
be
gut
two
feeling.
boys and two girls.
Maybe. I can see
I think.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see, because I think Springman, Ribbon Girl, Min Min, and Ninjara, but I could see Min Min being traded out for Twintel, just because she's super, super popular.
But so is Min Min.
But Min Min is also really popular.
She won the, like, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's like the equivalent to the Splatfest for ARMS. Like, she won the last one of that. So she's pretty popular. And either one, but also, like I said, like Twintel, her arms are like her attacks are on her hair, so I feel like her hitboxes would be different than Springman, Najara's, and Ribbon Girl. So it would probably be easier to make it work with Min Min in terms of her structure than Twintel.
It would probably be easier to animate that.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just, from my perspective, it would probably make more sense to go for Min Min. And maybe what could happen
it would make it a little bit easier.
That the other ARMS characters will simply have some sort of prominence to the stage. You know, like that's kind of how it is for the other Smash DLC stages, that like you can see other characters in those stages, especially the Terry Bogard one.
Yeah, or some of them could be represented via the alts for each of the
the colors.
Yeah.
Could be.
I could see Min Min having an alt for the clown-like fighter.
Okay.
I don't remember the names.
Okay. Maybe. Yeah.
Then we could see some for the other ones.
You know, it'd be neat, like if it ends up being, if our theory's right, and it's Springman, Ribbon Girl, Min Min, and Ninjara, if they were to replace Springman with like Twintel's and Assist Trophy. But I've seen people make the argument that they could just throw in Springtron because that would just be like changing the texture. So maybe that, but I agree with the Twintel love. I'm all in on the Twintel love. It just like, I just think in terms of likelihood, in my eyes, Twintel has a less likely, and it's just because she wouldn't be fully representative of the traditional ARMS character just because of where her arms are, you know. But I want her in, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would I don't know. I'm not sure. But let's assume that we're wrong. And I think there's a good chance we are wrong. Right? Although there have been some rumors suggesting that that agree with us that it's going to be multiple characters, kind of like a hero situation. So it's not like, I don't know if the rumors are super reliable, but there are some rumors, you know, sort of coinciding with what we think. And if not that, they think it's either like the rumors, and it's kind of all over the place. Like Springman, right, is one. Min Min's another, or multiple characters. Like those are rumors I've heard. There could be more. But,
yeah.
So you know, there's either way. Like we're gonna be semi right. You know, like I think of the four characters we think, like for sure, like I think there's a pretty good chance.
I feel like at the very least, it's gotta be Springman and Ribbon Girl. I don't think. If you're gonna put just one character in there, I feel like Springman just makes the most sense. But if you put Springman, I feel like you gotta put Ribbon Girl as well.
Like some people have argued that, oh, but that's just too obvious. Like they are on the cover, they're boring. You should put something more interesting in. But like, I feel like
Byleth?
Right. Like I think people could have made that argument for Terry Bogard as well. You know, like there's some other interesting fighters in Terry from Fatal Fury. So like I don't know. I think there's a history of main characters making it in. I think it would be weird if the main characters were not playable with this DLC. I think it would be weird. Was it out of the question? No, it's not out of the question. But, you know, it's going to be... Either way, it's going to be interesting what actually happens. But let's assume, Brandon, that our theory is wrong. And it's not going to be 4 playable characters like a hero-like situation. What do you think... And when we say 4 playable characters, it's going to be one character but they're gonna have alt
Correct.
skins where they look like those other characters. But assuming that's wrong, if you had to pick only one character, just one character, no alt skins that look like other characters, who would it be?
In terms of who I want, or in terms of what I think makes most sense?
Both.
Okay. I think if I had to pick the one that I wanted, probably be Min Min. If I
Okay.
want to pick the one that makes the most sense, it's a tie between Springman and Min Min, actually.
Okay. I'll say that I like all those characters, but I also think it's fair to say that I've played ARMS, but I haven't played ARMS as much as other people. So my
Yeah,
I
played
don't
like
have
20 hours
I don't
of it.
have like a dedicated favorite ARMS character, but simply because of her design, I would guess I would pick Twintel, for a character that I would want to see just because I think she's really cool.
It's a good pick.
But in terms of what I think it would be, if it's not Springman, it's Min Min.
Yeah.
If it's not Springman, and I guess the thing is, I'll say that if it ends up just being only Springman, that would also be weird, because the way they revealed the ARMS character and they showed that entire shot of all 15 characters, it would just be weird to like do that and tease who it could be for it to just be Springman, Like,
Yeah.
I would say that in order for Springman to make sense, it's because he's being added with our, like, in the way we're saying, like, where it's going to be multiple characters as one character.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I just really think it's gonna be a hero situation. I think makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And they don't do that for every character, but I think in this case it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I think because the ARMS characters can switch out their arms, they have more room for flexibility there in terms of making all the characters work with one character.
Yeah.
Like, people might be like, oh, but you can't use Ninjaro's arm with Springman. Well, what if you just switch out his arm? Like, I know they don't do that quite in the game, but I think they can bend some rules for this character. Like, we've seen other characters that have moves from different games that they didn't use.
Mhm.
Like, that's not out. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility because we've seen
No.
things along those lines before with Smash characters. So I think it could work out. But so going back to my question for myself, I was debating if it was Springman or Min Min. I'm gonna hard say for sure if it's just one character, I'm going with Min Min, because if it was just one character and it was Springman, that would make no sense based off how they've been sharing this information to us. But I think it makes sense for it to be multiple characters just the way they sort of share it to us. So I'm siding with you, because that's been our theory from like pretty much the beginning, that it's gonna be 4 characters in a hero-like situation. So
Which ones would you pick?
because I think they're all like early characters and they all match in terms of like shape. Springman, Ribbon Girl, Ninjara, Min Min.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you agree.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I kind of think. Now, if that's the case, how do you think they would reveal it? Like, who would they show first?
Springman.
Okay.
They'd probably show Springman and very quickly show Ribbon Girl and them together. And then start showing,
The other two.
yeah.
Okay.
But 100% they would start with Springman and then because that's how they revealed ARMS in general.
Mhm.
They started, you saw Springman, and then very quickly you saw that he was fighting Ribbon Girl.
Yeah. I also think that this is the first character for Fire's Pass 2. They want to start strong. So what's the best way to start strong for the ARMS character? Because it's ARMS. ARMS is not the biggest Nintendo IP. If you just have one character, that doesn't hit as hard as, like what we're talking about, the hero idea where it's more than one in there. I think that's the best way how they can entice more people to be interested. Like, oh, I like that character. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they take the Springman fan base, the Ribbon Girl fan base, the Ninjara fan base and the Min Min fan base and they combine them, then there you go. I'll also say that if they could find a way to make Twintail work and fit her in there as well, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
Now, what would be crazy is what if, like, it's not 4, but it's 6. And what they do is that they actually have 12 alt skins, and they have this leading to an announcement that there's more alt skins for all the other. They add 2 more alt skins for all the other characters in the game.
That would be insane.
And that would be a way to, in terms of numbers, to make for it to make sense. Actually, like, who would if? So obviously, guys, it's just speculation. I don't actually. It's more of an idea that I think would be cool, but I'm not predicting this. Like, if they were to do this and add 6 characters but a hero-like situation, so 6 characters, but they're all skins of each other, and then there's like an alt color. Who would those characters be? I think obviously like the 3 girls that make sense is Ribbon Girl, Min Min, and Twintail. If you can find a way to make it work with the hitboxes with Twintail, you do it, right? And then Springman and Ninjara. But who's a good 3rd guy? Don't say
maybe
Springtron.
that. What?
Don't say Springtron.
No, I was gonna say there's like a robot with goo arms. And I forget
Helix.
what his name is.
Oh.
Helix, yes.
Yeah.
Helix would be cool.
Yeah, the Helix guy. Is that his name? Just Helix?
Yeah, it's Helix.
Okay. Huh. I'm looking at the list now. Springman, Ribbon Girl, Ninjara, Master Mummy, Min Min, Mechanica, Twintail, Bite and Bark, Kid Cobra. Maybe Kid Cobra. I think
Kid
Helix
Cobra
would be the coolest one to add, though. Misanga wouldn't be half bad. Max Brass is just big. Like, he's a big dude. And so is Dr. Coil with her shoulders. So I don't think... I'm just thinking about hitboxes and for it making sense as one character, you know, because they have to sort of match. Yeah. Helix also has, like, a more fluid form, and I could see that maybe getting in the way.
Yeah.
But also, if they decide to find a way to make it work with Twintail, you make it work with Helix.
That would be what I would want, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my dream lineup. Right now we're just dreaming about them adding more alt skins anyway, right? So just go all in here. I think my dream like ARMS character reveal would be Springman, Ribbon Girl, Ninjara, Min Min, Twintail, Helix, all skins of one ARMS character, like the hero situation. But there's also, since they would still have an alternate color each, what they would do is announce that, hey, we're going to be adding 2 new alt skins for every single character in Smash Ultimate. That would be so exciting, and I don't expect that at all. This is just like for funsy speculation, but it would be cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also announced spoil the platforms and break the targets at the same time.
Yes, there you go. That's like an ideal situation. And throw in Geno for free while we're at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that makes me think of 2 questions actually. One do you think next character reveal is? But we'll save that for a little bit later. But also, like, do you have any rough ideas how you think this character will play?
That is a good question. I mean, there's just a ton of moves that they could use. I imagine, obviously, B will just be a normal, like, punch. I think there will be a sort of, like, weightiness to it. I don't think it'll be quite as slow as the ARMS are in ARMS. I think they'll be faster, but I think there will be a sort of weight. I think this will be like a slower but heavy punching character.
It'll be Byleth.
I haven't played much about this, so...
Well, so...
I don't know the comparison, really.
Byleth is kind of like mid-range and hits really hard, but it's slow. So, maybe something along those lines. Okay. I don't think they'd be as heavy. I think actually make more sense for them to be like mid-range where they can do a lot of chip damage. You know, because they're boxers, sort of. Where they chip, and then they go for the killing shot. So maybe they have a couple hard-hitting moves, but a lot of it's just gonna be about like extending out different directions and sort of like whittling down opponents. So I don't think they'll be
That's
slow.
possible.
I don't see them being that slow. Maybe they're not super fast, but I don't see them being like a super slow character.
Right.
And I guess given the nature of their range,
It's just
they
that
wouldn't
like
be too
arms
heavy
itself,
either.
the game is your arms move pretty slowly. Like it's a lot of it is
Right.
like when you punch, it can be upwards of a second or two before you hit.
Yeah. And I guess the smash attacks would have to be a little shorter too. That makes sense. And then of course you have the what's the you know when your bar gets all the way up and you do like a flurry attack?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have that. They could have a charge for that.
It could be a meter, maybe. Or it could be their final smash.
That could be.
Yeah. Do you think they would have a situation where that you change the weapons by pressing down B, or would it just be like a different type of weapon that is used depending on the direction you press?
I think that's typically what they do for games like that. Like they did for like Splatoon, a lot of it is just different, different moves or different guns for Splatoon. This one, I think different moves would be different arms.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that could be. And I guess... like, it'd be cool if we got Min Min's Dragon Arm. Obviously, Springman's would just be, like, the basic one. I know Ribbon Girl is really good with her aerial movement, so I don't know. Like, how do you think they would best, like, show her off through the moveset?
I'm not sure.
Or is it not really? I don't know. I mean, they could use one of her other arms. They're there. Was there like poppers? Remember?
I mean, most of them aren't. They're not really specific to
Okay.
each character.
Okay.
You can customize
Yeah.
them for anybody.
Yeah. I guess we'll see tomorrow. But
Yeah.
I feel like for sure they're gonna be like a mid-range character. It would be crazy if they make them like a long-range character where their arm goes from one side of the
honestly,
stage all the
you
way to
play
the other.
pretty long range in arms. I could see there being a couple of long-reaching attacks.
Okay.
I could see like a side B where it
I just
stretches
have a
out the
hard
longer
time
you hold
believing-
it.
I have a hard time believing that like it'll go as far as like Link's arrow when fully charged.
No.
But definitely, probably longer. They'll probably have more range than say Byleth with her lance and spear.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think that it could be a situation of holding it out
Mhm.
longer.
Could be. I think it makes sense. Yeah. They're definitely gonna have range. We agree on that. They're gonna have range, and I think that they're gonna somehow showcase a few different arm attacks depending on the direction you play. So I see that at least, for sure. But I guess, bringing it back to the other question I had for you. Once this happens... Well, actually, there's a couple questions I saw in the chat. Sorry, I jumped all over the place. Because I saw Go55 had a good question. What Mii costumes do you think will come with the Arms Fighter?
That's a good question.
It would be nice to see another like prominent indie character get a Mii costume that makes it look like a playable fighter.
That would be nice.
Like, two that come to mind are Shovel Knight and Shantae. I know, I want Shantae in the Fighter's Pass, but I'll settle for some music from Shantae and her being a sword fighter.
I could definitely see that.
With it looking like Shantae, actually.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Shantae's actually gonna make it in. So
right,
I
so
could
this
see
so
that
this would be
happening.
like a best case scenario, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be nice to see. Like, other than that,
I know before we were seeing a lot of rumors about a Doom Mii costume.
I don't.
Not for Doom guy, but for like Doom
I think if there's a Doom creature that they're just gonna. If that happens, like Gino for sure is coming, and I think Doom guy is coming. Like, or it doesn't have to be Doom guy, but I think it would make sense for it to be some sort of Bethesda character.
I would really love a Bethesda character. I would love it to be Doom guy.
I think it should be pointed out that we did get that interview or that statement where they said that, hey, we talked to Nintendo, but we did not come to any like actual plans to add Doom guy into Smash Brothers. Again, we've had deconfirmations before, or quote-unquote deconfirmations, but they're actually just not. They're just lies because they can't.
Just
they don't want
lies.
you to know the truth yet. Like, for example, Banjo, like, People were asked about Banjo, like, no, it's not. I don't know what you're talking about. This is no. And yes, Banjo. Like, who was it?
I remember when they said Fortnite wasn't coming to the Switch.
Right.
And then it did,
Right.
like, several months later.
Yeah. So, I mean, these things still happen, even if there's deconfirmations. And it also could be that maybe the Doom guy wasn't planned for the first Fighters Pass, but what about the second Fighters Pass? You know, so, like,
Right.
they never said it would never happen. At the time, they just said, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So, you know, I could still... I would love it if that image was true, because that would imply Doom Guy and Geno as playable characters in Smash.
Yeah.
That would be epic. But on that note, I'll play the negative side of things. As much as I would love Geno to be a playable character, Geno would also be a great Mii costume. Give us some Super Mario RPG music and have Geno look like Geno as a Mii costume. It would be heartbreaking, but also, hey, it's still cool, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's a possibility at least, I think. But I don't know. Those are definitely some possibilities for Mii costumes moving. Let's move on though. Let's see if there's any other questions, and I'll get to that question I had for you, Ronnie Fazio. What do you think about the idea of a Monolith Soft helping to develop a future Pokemon game?
I think that would actually be a really good idea.
Because the world would be very expansive and really cool looking, for sure. Maybe it would run a little bit better too. Maybe.
They have,
Monolith Soft is not the best example of creating a highly optimized games.
They've become better. Torna definitely ran a lot better than 2,
but
and
also
Xenoblade runs.
But the resolution
better,
for their games
but
is still pretty low.
Not completely.
You know?
Yeah, they definitely developed 720p games for some reason.
It kind of blows my mind that Breath of the Wild is 900p on the Switch. You know?
When you consider that the game runs at all on the Wii U at 720p, I'm like, okay, I can see it.
Yes, but I just mean like it's just what they did. Breath of the Wild just kind of blows everything else out of the water from Nintendo. You know, like I would say it's still way more impressive than Mario Odyssey, because Mario Odyssey the worlds are a lot smaller, you know, and there's not as much going on in those worlds, even though it looks beautiful and it runs at 60 frames per second. Breath of the Wild it's a huge world with so much going on.
Yeah, I think in that aspect, Breath of the Wild definitely blows everything away. But in terms of just pure technical makeup, there's other more impressive games on the Switch, in my opinion.
Like what?
You
think Mario Odyssey is more impressive? You think it's more impressive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay.
I'd say games like.
So I'm not gonna argue with you. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of Monolith, I can see it mainly because Monolith Soft has done this before with other Nintendo teams, but Game Freak isn't owned by Nintendo, so they might not get internal help. It would be nice, but they haven't really done it before as far as I'm aware, so I don't know if I would expect that. But the idea of Monolith Soft helping out other games being published by Nintendo, that's been done. So it's kind of like, while Game Freak hasn't received that kind of help from Nintendo before, as far as I'm aware, Nintendo has used their different teams to sort of help out their other projects. So it's kind of like, maybe it'll happen, but also maybe not, you know?
I would say it's less likely.
Definitely, yeah, I would side on probably no. But they are still expanding their teams. They are getting better. That doesn't mean they can't consult with Nintendo on different ideas on how to expand. I wouldn't be surprised if they have already. I mean, this seems like there was a clear inspiration from Breath of the Wild in Pokemon. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's something more there in the future. But let me go to that question before we call it a night. So I'll end things with this question, Brandon.
Okay.
After what I asked you earlier. When do you think we could see the next ARMS, not the ARMS, but we'll see that tomorrow, but when we'll see the next character reveal?
Okay, I honestly think it will be a few months. and I think it will be at the next Nintendo Direct.
I agree. September?
If it happens.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
September.
probably September or October.
Yeah, I'm thinking in a September Nintendo Direct, we will get the next character reveal, and that will be the next. That is also when I think we'll get our first Nintendo Direct, like main one, and that they'll announce like the holiday lineup.
One can only hope and pray.
Maybe it happens sooner. Maybe it happens in August. You know, I could see that, but I definitely think it makes sense for the next character reveal to happen in a Nintendo Direct. I mean, we're in June now, so waiting 2.5 months before the next... Maybe it could happen a little sooner. September would be...
I still think it's September.
Like, so if we were told it was going to be an ARMS character in March, waited 3 more months until June for it to come out. How long ago did we have to wait for Byleth? Byleth, we got in January. We found out about it in January, right?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks.
So, and the distance between that was between the beginning of January towards the, about 3 months, right? Or 2 months actually. Maybe 2.5.
It's a similar amount of time to what we're saying.
Yeah, so
to September.
Is it though? So we got July and August. Yeah. If it's like the second week of September, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, I can see it. That makes sense. And I mean, if you think of it that way, like the character, it wouldn't just be like a semi-character reveal. It could be like a full character reveal then, you know? And then the presents happens a little bit later.
It might.
Yeah.
I think it will be a partial. I think they'll reveal a character, but they'll still have another like presentation for it a few weeks later when it actually comes out.
Yeah, I can see that. We're pretty much on the same page here, so there's not really much disputing or arguing on this. But yeah, it'll probably be a couple months. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I mean, I think we've pretty much like covered the main things right now. It is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Is there anything else you're going to bring up before we call it a night, Brandon?
I guess the only one thing we didn't bring up was that EA announced Apex Legends for Switch, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
Just a small little thing, but
yeah.
That's gonna have cross-play with all platforms this fall when it comes out.
Do we know if that Crash Bandicoot 4 game is gonna come to Switch? I saw like a picture of it.
From the rumors, there was not a listing for the Switch.
I can see it coming like later down the road. If the Crash trilogy could come to Switch, I don't see why Crash Bandicoot 4 couldn't come to Switch. You know?
Yeah, I could see it. I don't think it.
I mean, I would expect that the Crash Bandicoot 4 would probably be a little bit more graphically impressive, but I still think that they could find a way to make it work on Switch. So
yeah, I think so.
I think there's an audience for it, and it'll probably happen eventually. Yeah, I kind of agree with that because I mean, of course I agree. I said it. So
I kind of agree with myself. You know, I do that occasionally.
Yeah. Well, I think out loud sometimes, like now. So
right.
Yeah. Tomorrow's gonna be fun. Tomorrow's gonna be fun. Wednesday may be fun as well. If it's Let's Go Johto, that's gonna make me happy because Gen 2 is my favorite generation. It was my first generation. It was awesome. So I'm looking forward to these things, and who knows? Maybe next week we'll get another trailer for another Nintendo game like 2D Metroid or Mario Remasters. We might have to wait a little bit longer, but I think if there's gonna be a Nintendo game coming in August, they have to announce it kind of soon.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, we'll see. Because July's next month. Paper Mario's coming out then. So, it wouldn't surprise me. Actually, I mean, this week could be crazy. Like, if there's going to be another Nintendo game coming out in August, which could be Bravely Default 2, for the record. Like, that announcement might happen next week, too. It might not, but just saying, like, if they're going to have a game for August, they're kind of running out of time before they would have to announce it for that month.
For sure.
So, we'll see. But yeah, guys, that's all for now. Sorry this one's a little bit shorter. Father's Day. I'm going to spend some time with my dad. So I will see you guys later. Stay tuned. Take care.
Bye, guys.